Hello and welcome back to the Trick Play Podcast on Fresh Take Network. I'm Simon Chaskovsky here with Caleb Peterson.
Man, I had to go anger bike. I just biked up a hill because I was so mad.
I was up 20 goddamn points. Tyreek Hill sucks. God damn it. I'm so mad.
And I thought I was going to be rich. Build an entire parking structure with that.
Build an entire baseball stadium. Yankee Stadium is filled with Lambos. Hello and welcome back to the Trick Play Podcast on the Fresh Take Network. I'm Simon Chaskovsky here with Caleb Peterson, and shortly we will be breaking down all the sports-related news, rumors, and drama that you will want to hear about. And we have quite a loaded week once again, back-to-back loaded weeks. We are killing it. We're going to be talking about the CFP committee making quite a wild decision, taking, I believe it was Florida State, choosing to keep them out despite them being undefeated, instead choosing Alabama. We'll get into that. Then we've got a whole bunch of stuff across the NFL, including the Zack Saga that had him rumoring to basically say no to starting for the Jets, which was a very interesting whole thing to watch unfold. Then we'll get into Goodell wanting the tush push banned in the NHL. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Flames and how Markstrom will be out week to week and what it could potentially mean for them as the Flames look to bring up a couple more prospects. In the NBA, we have quite a lot going on as well, so we'll make sure to get into that. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the Yankees trade that it just got finalized pretty much right now with them bringing in Soto. So make sure to check us out on YouTube, Fresh Take, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, as we have new content coming out every week on each and every one of those platforms. Caleb, are you ready to get into it?
I'm so ready. And definitely check us out on YouTube, Instagram, all the things he just said. Because apparently people listen to us on not YouTube, and I didn't even know.
YouTube is where most of our good stuff is. I can say that as well, if you're not watching a lot of our shorts and YouTube stuff, you are missing out. So make sure to come over here, check us out. We've got a lot going on.
If you're on Fresh Take and you're just listening over there, props to you, man. But come over, say hi. Let us know that you're here. It's lonely over there in the YouTube world. Come say hi.
For sure.
We'll give you a little virtual high five.
Let's get into it.
All right. So obviously big news in the world of college football this week. College Football Playoff Selection Committee has made their decisions. They've got the top four. Number 1, Michigan. Number 2, Washington. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Alabama. And in this being the last year of the 14 college football playoff, probably the wildest selection we've seen since the playoff was introduced. And that's that way for a couple reasons. Because of the conference championships last weekend, we saw Alabama versus Georgia losing in an upset. So the number 1 team that had previously won 29 games in a row, they get knocked out of the playoff entirely. Then you have Alabama as an 8 seed coming in because of that win. And then because of that, and because Texas had already beaten Alabama and was otherwise 12-1, if Alabama gets in, they get in. And who that leaves out is undefeated, 13-0, Florida State. Now, I know, Simon, you aren't the biggest college football fan, but even just on principle, how do you feel about a team that was in the top 4 the entire year, despite not losing a game, being left out of the college football playoff?
Well, I mean, it's just wild. I don't understand how you can leave out an undefeated team. It's just, I think that all the outrage that has come from it, I think there was talks of a lawsuit coming out of this. I think it's all very warranted. Because, I mean, what else could you have done if you're Florida State? I think that's the biggest conversation. You did every single thing right just to get screwed. That's just
so
there's nothing that you can do about that.
The tricky thing is there is the reason they're left out is, and I've seen a lot of this debate on Twitter, is it the most deserving 5 teams that will get in, or is it the top 4 teams that will get in? And obviously the big asterisk around Florida State and their 13-0 record is that their Heisman candidate quarterback, Jordan Travis, broke his leg and will not be playing. And I believe even their backup got a concussion, and they were in the, what conference are they? ACC? The ACC championship. They were playing with their 3rd-string quarterback. And you have to ask, without their starting quarterback, can they compete against the top three teams in college football? But do you think, Simon, even taking that quarterback injury into account, does that change your opinion on it all, or does it still feel not fair to the rest of the Florida State team that they got left out?
It's that, and that is the tough thing, right? Where it's you really have to. You're right. You have to think about, can they compete against the best of the best without their best quarterback? And even Travis Hunter was saying that with him. I think he came out saying basically that he wishes he broke his leg sooner so that the whole world would see how good they are without him, right? Because I mean, it's
Yeah.
the entire thing is just incredibly unfortunate for everyone involved. Truthfully, probably not. They wouldn't have been able to compete without their best quarterback. That's just how it is. Like the quarterback position is so vital to a team, and when you lose that, that is usually what. Not everybody is the. I think it was 2019 Philly Eagles. Like that's not going to happen, or 2018,
Yeah.
whatever year it was. Like not every team is going to be able to
2016.
win with. Oh, I'm off by a country mile. Holy crap. Oh, Jesus. Whatever. You know what I mean. Like
Time flies.
time flies, exactly. Doesn't feel that long ago. But anyway, like not everybody's going to be able to win with their backup. Of course, if you are Florida State, you have to that it just sucks. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
around it. So I kind of get both sides of the argument. I think is where I'm kind of landing on this because they deserve it. They won the 2 games without their starter. They still won. You can't take that away from them. But
Yeah.
would they necessarily beat? Who would they have played again? I don't remember.
They would have played Michigan because they would
So,
have gotten in as number 4.
Do you think that they would have beat Michigan without Travis Hunter?
Oh, absolutely not.
Well, there's your
Without
answer.
Jordan Travis, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely
Jordan.
not.
Oh, wait, I'm saying the wrong name.
Travis Hunter
God,
is
I'm
the
not off
Colorado
to a
guy.
good start. College football fans are gonna hate me. Holy crap!
um, but yeah, no, like it's a tough thing to say because no, they definitely wouldn't have beaten Michigan. And I think if you're the CFP committee, you're looking at it from the angle of like you just watched the worst national championship game in history when Georgia comes out and beats TCU 65-7. And now TCU, to their credit, did beat Michigan. Like they deserve to be in the playoffs. But I feel like that still kind of stings, and you don't want to see that kind of a game again. Because there's such a big difference between a Michigan Alabama matchup and a Michigan Florida State matchup, especially without Jordan Travis. But again, Florida State literally couldn't have done anything different other than Jordan Travis not breaking his leg. So that's where it kind of is like, ooh. And that's why it's such a good thing that we're moving to an expanded playoff. I've never understood why college football limits the amount of teams in the playoff. I never understood it when it was 1v2, and that was the only game that was played. I was happy that they expanded to a 4-team playoff, but I never understood why they didn't do more. So it sucks that this didn't come a year earlier because I think there's plenty of deserving candidates. Because again, not only Florida State getting left out, but Georgia, who went undefeated the entire regular season and barely lost in the SEC championship. And then there's one more team that got left out that could have potentially gotten in. It's splitting my mind now. But what are your opinions on the structure of how it works right now, Simon, in terms of the 4-team playoff?
Well, once again, as somebody who's definitely more of an outsider on college football, I think it's just weird. Like even just it just doesn't make sense to me why this would exist. Like why would you let the most important playoffs in your sport or in your league or what have you, why would you let that be dictated by something that isn't necessarily on the field? Like it's bringing some like political almost like because you're pointing out the fact that like an Alabama and Michigan matchup is just bigger than Jesus, I'm tripping. Michigan and Florida State matching up. I mean, no shit, right? Like that doesn't feel like that even needs to be said. But that doesn't mean that you should just be eliminating Florida State just because it's not as cool. Like that almost takes like the entire point of the regular season out of it, right? Like if you're just gonna pick Alabama no matter what, what's the point in any other team trying, right? It's kind of that's the other side of things that I understand that's why I almost lean towards the other side of things, where it's like, sure, like that matchup might have been bad, and me and you can sit here on our high chairs on this podcast and say Michigan would have destroyed Florida State. But what if Florida State won, right? What if with like their third string quarterback?
Michigan got beat by TCU.
imagine how big of a story that would have been, though. Like in the playoffs,
Yeah.
people were talking about taking Florida State out. They went out there and proved everybody wrong. And we're never going to be able to see that because they chose to put in a team with a worse record. Like that's just dumb. Like you shouldn't you shouldn't be letting that dictate things.
Yeah. And I think in terms of, because I completely agree. And I think I agree with that sentiment, but I also do think they made the right decision, if that makes sense. Because it's impossible to make that decision. I don't think if you're going to choose the four best teams in college football, even though Florida State was undefeated, I think Alabama beating Georgia is just so huge, and means a lot more. But I also think you shouldn't have to have that situation. Ohio State was the other one that got left out. Ohio State went 12-1, and the only loss they had is to Michigan, who is the number one team in the country. Like, how do you kind of judge that?
Yeah,
it's so tough when you're leaving.
You almost lose. You're almost leaving those schedule. Three teams.
Yeah, because it's like Ohio State and Michigan have to play every year, so that game between them is basically a playoff game, because whoever loses that game, it's part of the reason it's so big. Whoever loses that game, you're not making the playoffs. I'm really excited for this 12-team bracket coming into play, because for me, I've just started getting into college football a lot more, watching, especially because I didn't really have a team, and I kind of latched onto Washington. Go Dogs. I've latched onto them, especially obviously being a fan of the Seahawks in the Seattle area. Got to see a game, Washington, Utah. They're super exciting right now. Michael Penix, Roma Dunze, they've got so many guys who are going to be NFL stars. So I've just started getting into it, and it's just so disappointing to see when some of these matchups could have been a lot better, and they just ultimately weren't. I'm still going to be excited for Washington versus Texas. I'm still going to watch it, but if this was a 12-team bracket, and I believe it would, there would just be so many more exciting matchups, like Ohio State versus Penn State would have been a matchup. It's almost like
you're just leaving money on the table, is how I describe it, because it's playoffs. Yeah. Why would you limit that? That's when you're making the most money, right? I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's something more to the fact that you'd make even more with only 4, or I guess that'd be 2 games.
Who knows?
One second, Simon needs to take another math class apparently.
I mean, there's some people argue it's oh well, then the argument's just going to move to who's the 12th team that gets in. But I feel like that's a little bit
no, I don't think so.
Stupid and
that's
kind of far-fetched. I don't think so.
You go that far down the totem pole, do you really think it's going to be as big of a deal as this is?
No, it's not.
Because you're going to be leaving on a team that's probably going to be what? What do you think the record of the 12th team right now is? If you were to,
they're probably if I were to guess, I'd say they'd have 2 or 3 losses.
Well, there you go. Do you think that's going to be as controversial? At least that team can sit here and go, well, we lost 3 games this season. Maybe that's why we weren't kept in. If we won that one game, and that's the funny thing with this entire situation, we have a team that went undefeated, and they now have to sit here and go, well, Bama.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I do think it's interesting, because with this 12-team playoff, there are still some issues with it. I think what's great about it is you got the Power 5 conferences. Every single champion of a conference immediately gets a spot. So Florida State would get in no matter what. And I think that's great, because then it's actually playing games to decide who gets into the playoffs. The one thing that kind of stinks is it's good because there's I believe I don't know exactly how it works, because you've got the Power 5 conferences, and then you've got some lesser, more minor conferences, and they give the highest ranked team from there a spot, I believe, which is cool, but also if that happened today, they'd be putting Liberty against Florida State instead of Oklahoma, which feels like a blowout in the making. So there's some kinks to work out in it. Yeah,
I guess that is the one conversation, right? Where it's you can't exactly do 1 versus 12 in college football.
Yeah,
it's just I mean, obviously, what didn't you say? Michigan was number 1. I guess that'd just be kind of
Yeah, so the structure of it would be Florida State it would be 5v12, and then 1 through 4 would get a bye. Would be how it would work. Okay. So there'd be 8 versus 9.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
I
So
could get behind
if it were to happen today, yeah, if it were to happen today, it would be number 8 Oregon, number 9 Missouri, and then number 5 Florida State versus number 12 Liberty, number 6 Georgia versus number 11 Ole Miss, number 7 Ohio State versus number 10 Penn State. Um,
like
which
that sounds pretty good.
I think would be fascinating. And
Yeah.
then even after that round, you get some more intriguing matchups. So then, like, let's say Oregon wins, it would be Oregon, Michigan, fascinating matchup. Like Florida State, Alabama, amazing. Georgia v Texas, amazing. Ohio State versus Washington, amazing. Like there's so many. I think especially at this point in college football, there's so many good teams that to deprive us of these kind of matchups. Like I think that just kind of sucks all the fun out of the sport. Like I'm getting into the sport because of like these big matchups, like Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Oregon this year. Those are what's fun, and this playoff is hopefully going to facilitate more of that, which is why this year kind of stings.
Yeah, yeah, and I completely agree with you. I think the funny thing is, it almost sounded like you were gonna try and argue against the 12-game playoff or 12-team playoff, sorry, and then you almost talked yourself into it, which I thought was the funny thing.
Yeah, well, there's some flaws in it. There's some flaws in it, but it is infinitely better than what we have now. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
going to be
for
my
sure.
ultimate point. It's not like
Well,
I can't. It's
and
not
when,
like I'm going to come out and say it's perfect.
when you're choosing all the best teams from 5 different like conferences, that's gonna be rough no matter what. Like,
Yeah,
that's like you're gonna have to leave out a lot of very good football teams, and that's the issue. You're like, and again, this is coming back to what you said that some people are complaining about is you're just moving it down from 4 to 12 to what people are going to complain about. But like I said, I still think that's better because at least that 12th team
it's a
can
lot better.
sit there on the merit of like, well, we lost 3 games to people maybe we shouldn't have lost to. That's why we're not here.
Yeah, yeah, and that feels so much more fair than what they're doing there, because at least you have a shot to play for something. At least you have a shot to play for something. And even if you don't, yeah, exactly. Like you said, you can point to a game in your season where you didn't stack up. And there's a reason why you're not in. For Florida State, the reason they're not in right now is because their quarterback broke his leg. That's not fair.
Yeah, you shouldn't be falling out because of injuries. Like, sure, and I'm not talking about injuries like causing losses. I'm talking about just they don't have a loss, right? And
Yeah.
that's just ridiculous. Like it's like on the merit of it, I agree with you. Like on the idea on what you said a couple of minutes ago on the whole thing of at the end of the day, they probably made the right decision on what would be the most competitive playoffs. But it's just like you have to feel bad for everybody involved, right? Like because
Yeah.
it's just like what do you even do? Like they're
Yeah. Because you can't do anything other than just like sit there and feel bad because you didn't get the chance.
yeah.
And the next chapter in the Jets' absolute disaster of a season has been written, and it just gets more and more sad. And frankly, like at this point, it's like a dark comedy. Like the poor Jets fans. This week, the news came out that they benched Zach Wilson after weeks of people calling for his job and him not playing well. They finally listened to the people and benched Zach Wilson. But it turns out when Zach Wilson was your best option to begin with, you probably don't have very good options behind him. And they roll out Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian, and they suck. Oh, wow, who could have seen that coming?
Shocker.
They were so bad that the Jets have immediately given up on both of them and are asking Zach Wilson, hey, well, we did shoo you out of the building and not only demote you, but make you the number 3 quarterback and kind of embarrass you in front of the whole country. But do you want to come back? And Zach Wilson, according to sources, has said no, and now things have changed. That was the news at the start of the week, and
Yep.
Robert Saleh came out and said they weren't founded, and Wilson was now, in fact, just today named the starter against the Texans. But it's just a whole like
The idea of the original
terrible,
part of that story is
confusing
just
saga.
hilarious. Like,
Yeah,
and I mean,
I honestly don't
respectable.
blame him. If it's
Yeah, I was
true,
gonna
I don't blame him.
say, like, you honestly, like, he is gonna get a second. We had this conversation already, I think, but he's gonna get a second chance somewhere else if he wants it,
Yeah.
right? Why would he continue to play on such a, frankly, a trash team when he can potentially go to like, I don't know what teams are going to be looking for quarterbacks this offseason off the top of my head, but he could potentially go almost anywhere else, probably have a better opportunity in a new scheme, which frankly he needs. He just needs something new because whatever's going on here isn't working. Like, why would you continue to, frankly, devalue yourself in free agency when you can just sit the rest of the
Yeah.
season? I mean, of course he's betting on himself with this, right? Because, I mean, there's also the chance that in the last couple of games here, maybe this wakes him up and suddenly he has a really solid, like, what, 2 weeks before A-Rod comes back for, like, a meaningless 3-week stretch. Like, it's... The
Yeah.
Jets season is just crazy. We had this conversation last week as well, but it's just, this whole season's just dumb.
Yeah, and it's the kind of thing. I was listening to my favorite NFL podcast around the NFL, and they had this similar conversation, and I thought it was interesting. Where if you're Zach Wilson, what do you do? Because I understand the again, this is if it's true, because this is all rumor. But if it's true that he didn't want to play for the Jets, again, I don't see how you can blame him. But at the same time, if it gets out there that you did not want to play starting quarterback when offered for your team, what team is going to want to take him? That's the other thing. It's like it's as he's kind of in a catch-22 where I think if he we know what he's going to look like behind this Jets offensive line. He's not going to look good, and he's going to lose most of the final however many games he plays, whether Rodgers comes back or not. And so, like, do you just gonna go out there and get slaughtered for another 5 weeks before people get even more tired of you, or do you say you don't want to play? Because if you say you don't want to play, the news is going to get out to the league that you're not a good teammate, that you don't take the opportunity when given to you.
What happened this week? That's what's going to happen, right? Like, it's the same thing. Like, it really is the question of, like, I mean, what do you even do if you're Zach Wilson? You're in a lose-lose situation no matter what. Like,
yeah,
if he continues playing like he's playing, we keep talking. I mean, again, we've said multiple times he'll probably get another chance. But, like, let's say he sucks for the next 5 weeks, does nothing. Do you really want him? Is anybody gonna want him? Like, or at least not at the value that you might get if you just choose to just sit. Like, maybe that's just like a better choice for Wilson at this point.
Because he's just been, because it's New York too, and he's just getting lambasted by the media, and his own coach doesn't even know what to say about him at this point. Where he's like coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, Zack is our guy the entire season," and then he benches him to third string. Like,
and then they go back to saying Zack is their guy.
Yeah, and I feel for Zach Wilson. I mean, he's obviously been like a bust up to this point in his career, and I don't think you can say anything different. But to not get another chance with the talent he has, because even with this just like doomsday stretch he's had for the Jets, he's shown flashes. Yeah. I brought it up in another podcast episode, the game he had against the Raiders. I watched that whole game, and that final drive, it's a perfect encapsulation of his career because he shows this tantalizing talent with this throw that you'd think only Mahomes can make. Complete no-look pass, perfect on the dot, and then he looks somebody dead and like stares his receiver down and throws a game-sealing interception. If you can somehow get those mistakes out, there's talent there, but he's such an enigma at this point.
You gotta wonder if it's like a mental block. That's almost what I kind of have gone. That's kind of where I've fallen with him, I think. Where it's just he does have endless talent. Like, if you watched him in college, he had all people were talking about him going above like Justin Fields and going above like going above almost Trevor Lawrence at times. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, it's nuts. Like, coming into the league, the amount of talent everybody thought he had. He goes to the Jets and just sucks. And I think I'm almost more willing to blame the room around him, right? More than anything else. Like, I still stand by what I said, where it's just he just needs something new. Like, you go anywhere else, like, seriously, anywhere else in the league, you are probably going to be put in a better environment with more chances to succeed than you have with the Jets. Especially coming into this year. Like, nobody in their wildest dreams, including Zach Wilson, thought that he was starting this season. Like, he kept saying all that shit before they, like, brought in A-Rod about how he'd make a veteran's life hell, yada, yada, yada. And, like, nothing is... Everybody knew it was horseshit. The second it came out of his mouth, he knew it was horseshit. He was just talking to talk. But it was... We were seeing life, right? It's felt like this entire season, we've just seen nothing but just, like, a guy drowning. That's pretty much what I described this season. And that's not him being a bad quarterback. That's just him in the wrong situation. I seriously think you send him to pretty much anywhere else, he'd have 1,000 times more success. That's not even me saying that he'd be a starter. That's just me saying that at least he'd have a chance. Like this whole team, everybody, Zach Wilson can throw like he could throw not another interception for the rest of the year, throw nothing but touchdowns, and he's not the starter next year. Everybody knows that.
And I think I don't know. I mean, I think you're right. I think a couple things. I think one, if you are a high draft pick in the NFL, there's a reason you got picked that high, and I think if you flame out, everybody should have a chance in another organization because I think coaching is so much of it. If Mahomes didn't get drafted by the Chiefs, I think you're probably looking at him in the same way you're looking at a lot of other quarterbacks who've just like flamed out. If he gets drafted to the Bears, he is not the same player, and I can guarantee that. So I think every first-round quarterback deserves at least some other chance in an organization. And I think the Jets is probably the worst place any quarterback can go because who have the Jets had since about Joe Namath that has actually been a good quarterback for them? That position has been cursed.
A-Rod for a total of like 3 snaps.
And even A-Rod, right? Like, I mean, obviously, I can't blame his injury on anything, but it just feels like there's something around. There's something around this Jets quarterback spot that's just like anybody who seems to touch it seems to fail for whatever reason, whether it's lack of talent or just bad luck.
The funny thing going into the season is it almost felt like that was the reason Rodgers wanted to come here. Was he wanted to go somewhere where like he literally there was no chance of him succeeding just to prove he could do it because he's just that kind of guy, right? He's just wants to do it. And the funny thing is he fell on his face with it. No, for reasons that are not his fault at all. But he fell on his face with it. And now we're stuck in another season of the Jets being the Jets. And that's the funny thing. Is it's almost like a verb at this point. For like how like it's crazy. It's crazy what this franchise is at this point. That they have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And they started going into this year. If I wish I could pull up what we both thought their records were going to be.
We both predicted them in the playoffs at least.
I think I had them winning the division. Like
I might have had Miami over them, but I had them over the Bills. I had them making the playoffs and second in the division at least, if not winning.
It's nuts. Even when I Google the word Jets, the Winnipeg Jets comes up first. That's fucking depressing. Like, what is this franchise? Move them to Alaska.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that might be better for them because it's like the New York media market, right? I mean,
the Giants got it
covered. It's there with the Giants too, but I don't know. I think back to like Sam Darnold and his whole thing about seeing ghosts. I think every Jets quarterback since the 60s has been seeing ghosts. And I think a lot of that has to do with the city they play in.
Yep.
You go to Kansas City and nobody's going to care until you're good. But you go to New York. You go to New York.
You got to be good right away. And we've seen that across all sports. Like,
the
one I always go back to, and Caleb, I think you've probably heard my Alexis Lafreniere arguments for like probably the last 5 years since he was like started becoming a prospect. Going into the league, I think I had him just as high as pretty much any other prospect other than McDavid.
Oh, I heard, he's the best prospect since McDavid.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely would have said it. Because I at the time, I definitely thought it was true. I need to emphasize one thing because I would have emphasized the same thing back then. I wasn't saying that because I thought he was as athletic as McDavid. I just thought when it comes to hockey IQ, he's one of the smartest prospects I'd ever seen. And I think a lot of people would have told you that at the time. And then he comes in the league, plays in New York, sucks ass. That's that. Like it seems like in no time at all, everybody just gave up on him. Same thing with Capo Caco over there. He sucked, right? Like, or at least sucked compared to like comparisons of what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be the next great New York, like the next great sniper on that team, and he's frankly not done much at all. Like it's crazy because there was conversations when the Flames were looking to move Noah Hannafin of us bringing in Lafreniere, and I still was one of the people saying that the Flames probably shouldn't do that, but there was a little bit of me that was like, imagine we bring in him and all of a sudden he's good. Wouldn't that be just great?
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, even now though, like Lafreniere's starting to pick it up again. He's got 16 points this year. It's just not star levels, but it's
no,
it's the kind of thing where
not
you
what
do need
anybody
to, like,
expected.
these are still young. Yeah, but these are still young players, and you need to let them develop. And in New York and the media climate like New York, you don't have time to do that. You just don't.
Not at all. Like, even the
And
backup
it's not the
quarterback's
same for
going to be
football,
judged
but
for how he sits on the bench. Like,
yeah,
you're going to get ripped apart for every little thing you do.
yeah, and that's just it's just what sucks. It's kind of unavoidable about the whole situation, and I feel for Zach Wilson. If this rumor is true, I understand it, but I don't know. I don't know what I think he's the starter. He's going to be the starter against the Texans. I think you just have to do what you've been doing all year, which is you go out, you play the best you can, you put the best film on tape that you can, and then you get out of that city as fast as you can, and you're going to be a backup on some other team and hope you get another chance to show what you can do.
And the thing is, I think he will. Like, there's a lot of places
He's going to be a
go
career
in the offseason.
backup at this point.
You think so?
If he doesn't
Are you
improve,
closing
he's a
the
career
door
backup.
on? You're closing the door on Zach Wilson being a starter anywhere?
I'm not closing the door on it, but I'm just saying, like, he's going to be, when he goes to another team, he's going to be signed as a backup. He is in the state he is now. He's not getting signed anywhere as a starter. And I don't think, and I say career backup, I'm going to say unless he has like a Geno Smith like resurgence.
And that's what I was going to say.
It's going to be like a starter goes down, and then if he gets another chance, I think maybe he can make it work. But otherwise, it's going to take a lot.
Yeah, and I think if I was Zach Wilson, I'd almost be trying to. I feel like you got to go and just sit behind like go to Buffalo, sit behind Josh Allen, go to Kansas City, sit behind Patrick Mahomes, go somewhere where you know you're just gonna be able to sit there for a bit, like just like.
And that's what he thought he had in New York.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah.
Just train for a year. Like you said, like the Geno Smith. I don't think it has to be like that. Like sign a 1-year deal behind like the Chiefs, and then go somewhere where like maybe the quarterback's not as equipped for a full season. There's questions around him. Maybe that quarterback doesn't have a strong start to the year. Zach Wilson comes in, and maybe he's good. But I think that's what you have to do if you're Zach Wilson. Go somewhere where you won't start. Like, I'm serious. Like, you just don't want that. Because let's say he goes and signs with, like, I don't even know. Goes and signs with the Raiders as a backup. Gets in by week 6. Like, and then just sucks. That's it. Right? Like, you're done. Like, why would you waste that second chance?
He can't afford a failure with another team.
No.
He can't afford that.
And that's what I mean. I think that your best option if you're Zach Wilson is to go sign with the Chiefs. Chiefs, Bills, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bengals is kind of a weird, flimsy one just because of Burrow's injury history at times. But, like...
I mean, Bengals already had an all-star backup.
True.
After last Thursday night, Jake Browning.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Washington alumni. Go Dogs.
You know what I mean. Like, it's just... Like, go somewhere where you can just sit for a bit. Like, just, like, sip your tea for a season. Let things sit. Let things simmer. And then when you're ready, you can... WWE music, run in there, save the day. Nobody will expect it. You'll be a hero. Like, do that. That's the better option.
Yeah.
Pull a Geno Smith. Sit behind Eli Manning for a bit.
Yeah, and I think it's the kind of thing where, like you kind of have to do that because you can't afford to flame out one more time. This is not, because I was looking back through the past few NFL drafts to see like what's the precedent that's been set for past like top 5 quarterbacks that have burnt out, and there's not that many, because either there wasn't any because it was a crappy draft for quarterbacks anyway, or they mostly panned out. The last guy that was kind of a bust, and you could even argue that he wasn't, would be like even before or even like later than that, it'd be Baker. Because he played. I mean, you've got Trey Lance in the same draft as Zach Wilson, but I'm not counting that quite yet. I mean, I do think he's a bust, but that's a whole nother conversation because I don't even think he really got a chance. But
and there's
with Baker, like
the Trey
Baker,
Lance thing. Like there's been a lot. There's a lot of
Trey
levels
Lance
to
is
it.
a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. But Baker is different than Zach Wilson because he had success, where he was a good quarterback for at least a year, where he had an amazing year. Zach Wilson hasn't had that. So Baker Mayfield had the opportunity to go to a place like Carolina, flame out, and still be fine. Zach Wilson doesn't have that. Zach Wilson can't go to a team like, obviously not the
Well, because
Panthers
even
anymore,
with
but
Baker,
like,
when he was with the Browns, there was a lot of people who thought that he did well at times, right? Like
he was great.
Yeah, he was good at times.
He was great.
I don't know if you can say the same thing about Zach Wilson right now.
Baker Mayfield could be afforded that to flame out in another spot, and get another opportunity with a team like Tampa where he is playing well. Zach Wilson doesn't have that. If he flames out, his career is over, and he's not getting another shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes and signs with, like, at this point it feels weird saying it, but if he goes to like the Panthers, Bryce Young doesn't exactly have a great second season, and he comes in and sucks as well. That's that. That's that. You'll be in the CFL.
It's done.
Come to the Stamps.
Johnny Manziel too.
Yep. Like it's just that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
God, that'd be so funny.
Get some snaps in the new like XFL USFL thing.
I was gonna say, imagine a world where Zach Wilson is like the starting quarterback for like the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Give it like 5 years.
Out.
Yeah. That's what. I wonder if he's on. The thing I always find funny with the CFL is their like negotiation lists where it's all these players who they're like keeping an eye on, who they know might flame out. So they've always got like some really high profile like NFL guys that have just been drafted. It's really interesting. I don't know if he's on any team's negotiation list, but that would be an interesting thing.
So some news came out this week about potentially Roger Goodell wants to get the tush push banned in it's kind of depressing. That's where I immediately fall on it because I think it's the entire thing has been absolutely hilarious. This saga of like the brotherly shove and like this entire thing has been awesome to watch. But at the same time, I kind of get it. Like it's kind of boring. Like you shouldn't be able to you shouldn't be able to convert a 4th and 1 every time, right?
Well, that's the thing is they don't convert it every time, and it's like
they just convert it 99% of the or 86%.
You cannot. Okay, well, still. What, are you going to ban extra points because they're like 95% accurate? I don't know.
Okay.
You can't
I see that too.
You can't ban a play from the game because
I see what you mean as well.
Time.
No, there's two sides. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm just saying. Like, just maybe you make it so that, like, they can't get it every time. Although I don't know what they'd be banning about it, is the one thing that I wanted to follow up. Because
yeah, what are you going to ban? The QB sneak or just, like, the fact that they're pushing him on the QB sneak?
I think it would probably be the second one. I think that would probably be the thing they'd ban. Because it'd be weird to ban a QB sneak because then it's almost like you'd have to be able to figure out what's the difference between just like a QB just rush, like a QB immediate snap and run, and a QB sneak. Like you can argue it's just like a QB sneak hits the ground quick, but at that point you could almost make the argument again that like how many steps is the difference between a QB run and a QB sneak? You know what I mean? Like
it would just be like a formation thing.
I guess.
It would be like, oh, are they lined up under center or are they lined up in shotgun? If it's under center, it's a penalty. If it's shotgun, it's not. Like that would be that doesn't seem. That's not going to be an illegal formation penalty. And like, I don't know. That it is probably going to be the second one because there's no way you can ban the QB sneak just outright. But even if you ban the second one,
I had, this was honestly more a question that I think you can immediately answer. But is it a dangerous play? Like, can you dictate it that?
Yeah, there's been debate about it. In terms of, it's more. I don't know if there's been a couple of people who have gotten hurt, not even on the Eagles, but on other teams who have tried it. Obviously, just by looking at it, it is a dog pile. Like you can kind of look at it and say, oh, that's probably a little bit more dangerous than just a receiver running a route. But then you kind of go into it and it's like, well, how much more dangerous is it than A, regular QB sneak, B, if you run like a halfback dive up the middle on 4th and 1. There's going to be people crashing in the middle anyways. I get it because it is a dangerous play, but I don't think it's going to be any more dangerous than than anything else teams are going to come up with.
And I was about to say, is it any more dangerous than just a regular like halfback dive, or like anything?
It probably is. It probably is a little bit, just because you have more people on the line of scrimmage, but it's not significant enough to where you're saying like this is why it needs to be banned. I don't think you have a good enough
dog piles out of football. It almost feels like you're just taking football out of football. Like,
yeah, you can.
Like, I don't know. I am, just to be clear, I think in concept, I think the entire thing's funny, because I don't understand how you get rid of it. I don't understand that entire thing, but like I want to get into it. Like, does he actually expand on it
in terms of how he's going to ban it? I wouldn't be. I haven't even read the.
No, he doesn't. Like, it literally, there's no
full article I sent.
There's no like expansion on it. It's just basically saying he wants to.
If I'm betting if I was a betting man and I was betting on why he wants to ban the tush push, it's gonna be because it's not entertaining. For him, for Roger Goodell, he wants the NFL to make money, and for it to make money, it has to be entertaining.
At the beginning as well, where it's just like, do you really want teams to be able to get it every time? Like,
it's a dumb argument, though. If you want to make the game of football more entertaining, there's a million more things you should take out of the game. I've talked with my dad about this.
That's true.
If you want to make the game more entertaining, you know what you take out instead of the tush push? The kickoff. The most anticlimactic play in football. You get everybody hyped up. I'll talk about my college football experience again. I was at the Washington-Utah game. Before every kickoff, I'm sure it's the same in a lot of other college football stadiums, but you got all the fans like going like this with their like flags, and everybody's getting hyped up, and the band is going, and then the guy kicks it out of the end zone for a touchback, and it's done. What the hell is that? Like, I don't know. It's not an exciting play, and it has literally no impact on the game, and there's been proposals to change it. If you're going to change something that's not exciting, change the kickoff.
Yeah.
The tush push, I get it. It's not pretty. It's not the most entertaining play, but just be banning it for that reason, I don't know. There's other places you can go first.
It also feels weird to ban a team for being good at something.
That's a good point.
Like, it'd be like saying you should ban, like, having Tyreek Hill run vertical routes. Right? Like, it's just like...
Because he's just faster than everybody? Yeah.
Like, is that a fair thing to say? Like, should the rule be you can only do a tush push when your quarterback can, like, squat less than 400 pounds or something? Like, what are you making the rule at this point, right? Because it's just, like, can you only do the tush push when your O-line has allowed this many sacks? Like,
if your O-line is all shorter than 6 feet, then you can do it. If you have a guy who's shorter than 6 feet, you can do the tush push. Yeah, no, it is, because it is, like, to your point, it is literally just the Eagles who are good at this.
You can only do the tush push if Roger Goodell likes you.
Yeah, and apparently he doesn't like Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't know what he did to him. Maybe a Philly fan like spat in his face or something. Like, that's something that I could see happening.
It seems just weird to me. Like, because
it is.
So, and just to be clear, I started this off by I wanted to play both sides a little bit. I can definitely say I'm definitely more in the don't ban it, just because it's just like the injury concerns. Like, you can say that, but it's like there's no way that's any more dangerous than any other like power back running into 6 linebackers. Like,
yeah. And you know that's not why people want to ban it.
No.
That's not why people want to ban it. People want to ban it because they're mad their team's getting run over by the Eagles. That's the only reason. And because nobody else can figure out how to do it. Everybody else is trying to do it, and it hasn't worked.
Nick Sirianni explained it perfectly, like you just said. People can't do it like we do it. Don't ban this play. If everybody could do it, everybody would do it. And there you go.
Yep. And that's it. And
you want to do it? Get your QB on the squat rack, motherfucker. Let's get this thing.
Yeah.
like this.
Let's see Tommy DeVito bench 500.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, it almost like we've seen the league move in a direction over the last 10 years of having more and more athletic quarterbacks. This feels like punishing the Eagles for having a quarterback who is more athletic.
Yeah. You know what I think the funny thing is? I think even if you ban the tush push, I think the Eagles will still find a way to make their QB sneak play work every time.
I think they would too.
I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. It's going to be a whole bunch of hoopla for nothing. I think the biggest part of this story in particular is that Goodell wants it banned. Because if Goodell wants it banned, then it's pretty much bad. For as much as we can talk about how ridiculous it would be to ban it, it's probably going to happen. If Goodell wants it banned, then that's it. I know there's more it has to go through, but he's the commissioner of the league. I don't know. I think it's stupid. It's going to be something yeah. He's going to have to. I'll be very interested.
Yeah. I'm more interested in the why here than it actually being banned, because I think the NFL, I'm curious what reason they'd give. Like, are they going to go the injury route? Are they going to go the route of maybe they're too good at it? Like, because if you're doing that, like here, how many vertical routes that Tyreek Hill runs result in him getting more than 20-yard catch? Let's do the math, guys. Like, it's
probably
just
a lot.
Like, are we going to make it illegal to leave Tyreek Hill without a safety up at the top? Like, is that going to be the rule now? A penalty immediately gets thrown.
Yeah.
It's just like, why are you penalizing teams for being good? This should be something you're looking for. Philly found something that nobody else can do. This is like the type of thing. It's like back in the 80s when the whole thing was Gretzky, Coffey, and Mark Messier on their on their penalty kill, scoring an absurd amount of penalty kills. Like, it's like a legendary thing because it would be the same play, or I think it was Yari Curry actually. It'd be the same play every time. Coffey shoots a half ice pass all the way up to Gretzky, who finds Yari Curry, goal. Every time.
Yeah.
They didn't ban it. How do you ban that? Why are you penalizing a team for being good? Like, it's just like, why? Who cares? Let the team be good.
You ask why? They're gonna say injuries, because if you're the NFL, you can't say because they're being good, because then that sets a terrible precedent for what other things, what other coaching innovations is one team going to be better than everybody else at? I don't know.
You know what? That's a good point, Caleb.
It's very curious.
When they ban a team for being too good, I think the next step is banning Patrick Mahomes as a whole.
Yeah, write him out of the NFL script. In fact, why don't we just write out all good players and teams from the NFL script? Let's just give the Super Bowl to the Jets.
Damn right. Hey, TJ Watt, if you get more than 22 sacks, you're out.
Yeah. If any player throws for more than 3 touchdowns in a game, they get eliminated. They're gone.
Automatically, they get taken behind the bar.
See ya. It's like the Shaq meme. You're going to China. See you later, buddy.
China would have the best football league after a year.
Mahomes to the Guangdong Tigers. See you later, buddy.
It sounds like Dwight Howard might actually finally get some help in Taiwan, huh?
He's building an all-star team.
How good of a tight end do you think Dwight Howard would be? These are questions that we will be figuring out in the next couple of years. That's true. It's like 6'11".
I mean, the whole thing about Jimmy Graham is he was a good tight end because he could rebound at Miami. Like, I don't know. Maybe
who knows?
It'd work out. Get his buddy LeBron in there. LeBron was a tight end too.
True. Maybe LeBron actually would come down to Taiwan.
Yeah. That's the pitch that Dwight Howard was missing. That's the part of the pitch he was missing.
Hey, LeBron, I know you wouldn't come down here for basketball, but you want to catch some passes from Patrick Mahomes? Like, just saying. He got banned in the NFL because he threw for more than 250 yards. Every good quarterback gets banned after 1 week. It'd be terrific. That'd be a world where the Seahawks might actually win the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I'm so ready for in that world for the Jake Browning CJ Beathard primetime matchups. Oh wait, shit, that's already happening. Maybe this is hell.
God, it's gonna be lovely.
It was actually a good game though.
Was it? I didn't.
Maybe this is better. Jake 34-31 overtime thriller. Maybe we do need to ban all the good quarterbacks. That's how we get the good primetime games.
You know what? That's a great idea. We should make a league out of players who aren't good. Oh wait, it's the CFL. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. My bad. Okay. And
Oh, shots fucking fired. Shots fired.
Just kidding. Don't kill me, CFL fans. I have a Stamps jersey in my
You
closet.
see, CFL catching strays out of nowhere. What a place to end the segment off. Holy shit. Shout out to, I'll give some CFL love before we finish it
Yeah,
off. Shout out
maybe we
Montreal
should.
for
I
winning
do
the
have a
Grey Cup.
Stamps jersey in my closet. The stamps are fun to watch sometimes.
Shout out Montreal. Thank you for beating Winnipeg.
That's true. That was cool.
I'm so sorry to all the CFL fans. Simon is just like
I just
shot and
made
killed with that.
every Canadian cry, including myself because I'm a Canadian. I'm a fake Canadian. Everybody's right. Should go live in Montana. Anyway, that'll do it. Next segment, where I won't rip on the CFL. Hopefully, we'll see. Let's find out. Oh yay! So we're gonna move over to the NHL now and talk about both of our favorite teams. I think in the Flames because we've finally got some interesting news going on over there. Unfortunately, Jacob Markstrom is out with a broken finger, and obviously not a good thing. But there is a but to it. And there is a reason that some Flames fans are looking at it almost more of as a positive in a very weird and messed up way, in the fact that we are finally seeing Dustin Wolf potentially coming up to the NHL for longer than just a game or two. Which means that this is a uniquely weird opportunity for the team to maybe see what this prospect looks like and also to see how good Dan Vladar can be in that starting role. There's like there's a lot of people out there who I don't know how to say that. I don't know. I'm having a stroke right now. Who almost feel as though Dan Vladar hasn't been given a chance either, and you're also giving the chance to just for him to get a little bit more film on tape. This intro has been all over the place, but you know what I mean. This is a weird opportunity for the Flames right now. I'm gonna throw this over to you before I have a damn stroke.
I mean, yeah, I think that obviously sucks anytime you have an injury. Like, you don't want that to be how Markstrom... Markstrom's not going to lose his job. They're paying him too much money to lose his job. And it's not like he's playing poorly. This isn't a Jack Campbell situation where he's just so garbage that they can't even justify having him on the team anymore. He's played pretty well. Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
He's had an .896 save percentage, which is okay.
It's not great, but he's not playing terrible.
He's not the reason they're losing games.
I have not been watching the Flames all that closely this year, but I have not heard the same vigor
last year.
People are
last year we were losing games because Markstrom wasn't playing well. This year he's playing okay, and we're losing. I wouldn't necessarily say the two things are, related. He could be better. Obviously, there's always the conversation when you have an .896 save percentage. There's always going to be the conversation that you can be better, but that's not the reason that we're losing games. At all.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see because we've talked about this in the segment before. I think the Dan Vladar starting angle is interesting, but obviously not what people are going to be focused on because feels like we've been talking about bringing Dustin Wolf up for the last 2 years. Yeah. And they brought him up for a stretch, and then they're going to send him back down for whatever reason. It's just been this roller coaster ride, but now he's actually going to get a relatively extended chance with a couple of games.
And the conversation has been that I think people are expecting him to get 80 or Vladar to start 80% of the games, right? That's kind of been the idea where they want to do the same thing they've been doing all year. That has been the big quote that people have been taking out of this, where they're going to look at it as nothing's changed. Vladar is going to get the same amount of time that Markstrom would have been getting, and Wolf is going to get the same amount of time that Vladar has been getting. That is how they plan on doing things until Markstrom is ready to come back. And like you said, I think most people are going to be focusing on Wolf starts, including and we kind of got an early start to that with Vladar leaving the game after the first period. In the last game that would have happened before this podcast, which was on Tuesday. Or we're recording this on December 6th, just for context. So it was the game that happened last night. Vladar led in 2 goals in 90 seconds at the start of the second period, and Wolf came in and played a pretty good game. He played really, really well. The Flames did not win the game. Wolf ended up letting in 2 goals, with the second one being kind of flimsy. But the entire moral of the story is every time that we've seen Wolf come in, there's been a lot of excitement around the team. Like it's the second, like it's almost like you can feel it. Like every time that we've gotten that start, like when he was starting in Ottawa, it was like there was hype built around the entire game. And the second they actually announce him as the starter for a game, everybody's gonna go nuts.
No. Yeah, and I almost feel bad for him just in terms of like
Oh, of course.
if it is 80-20, that's rough. I would almost like it to be more 50-50 so he has a more extended period of time to prove
Yeah.
himself.
No, and I agree
Because
with you
I mean
completely.
it's like what we just talked about in our Zach Wilson segment, just the pressure that's put on young players to perform. And I know Calgary's been sheltering him in the AHL for a long time, but if you're only calling him up like 2 games at a time, if he
Yeah.
shits the bed in those two
Well,
games, it doesn't mean he's a bad goalie, but they're gonna send
it's
him
so
down
hard
like
with
he
goalie
played.
prospects. It's like nothing else in any other sport, I'd argue.
Yeah.
Like because there's no good way to do it. You could bring up a goalie too early where they absolutely dominate for a season and then the next season they suck because expectations are too high. Like
Yeah.
you could wait
Yeah,
till they're
like
30 and then you're too late. Like you have to like literally throw a dart and hope you're right with goalie prospects half the time. So that's why the Flames don't want to take a risk. The issue is Dustin Wolf's kind of forcing your hand here because he's been so incredible at every single level of hockey he's played in the CHL, dominated, AHL, dominated. Now he's very ready to go to the NHL level. But the Flames are scared to pull the trigger because what if you trade Vladar and all of a sudden Wolf sucks and you need to send him back down to the AHL? What then? Right? Like that's the worry with the Flames. That you're
I
just
mean, but even if he sucks, though, even if he sucks, like you can have him back up Markstrom, and that's not that big of a deal. Like
yeah.
if you have a shit backup, like and not even like the chances I think that Wolf is
But
going to
they
be
also
shit
don't
are
want
pretty
they also don't
low.
want the fans to turn on him either. Because if he's just a crap backup, then it's gonna take you know what Flames fans are like.
I
It's gonna
think
take 3 games
yes,
before everybody's gonna be crapping all over him.
I don't. With the amount of time that Dustin Wolf has been hyped up, I think it will take significantly more than that for Flames fans to turn on him.
3 bad games.
I think it's going to take a lot more.
I think 3 bad games would be enough to be seeing the word bust on Twitter, which is ridiculous. But I think that's what they're
It
trying
is.
to avoid.
It is. I don't think that's going to happen. And even if it does happen, you can't shelter him anymore just because you're afraid that that's going to be the response.
Yeah, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I have been the person who's like Wolf needs to start now. You're wasting him because he's too good for the AHL. He's the thing is with the scary line for most goalies is deciding whether he's too good for the AHL or if he's and too bad for the NHL. There's like this big of a gap. It's just trying to figure out where Wolf is in there. I'm explaining it kind of poorly, but it's what I've called it over the years has almost been the Calvin Pickard scale. Because back in like 2016, he was known as the guy who dominated in the AHL, get called up by Colorado, suck, get sent down. Dominated in the AHL, get called up by Colorado, suck, get sent back down. It's almost like it's the area of what do you do in that when the goalie's in that time. And I think a lot of the worry for the Flame is that is exactly where Dustin Wolf is right now. I don't agree.
You don't know that. You don't know that. Yeah.
Most of the times when a goalie is too good for the AHL and too bad for the NHL, they're not this good. Like if this is the Calvin Pickard scale, Dustin Wolf is probably here. Maybe here. Like he's above it. He's broke through that. I think you just need to give him a chance. Like give him a real
I think
chance of like
any other organization would have at this point.
Yeah. It's funny because you always hear people hyping up Devin Levi as this big next goalie prospect over in Buffalo, but I've always been the guy over here sitting in the corner yelling from my Flames bias that Dustin Wolf is as good or better of a goalie prospect, but I think it's just the difference between who's getting more opportunities and to show it off. Because I think if you put Dustin Wolf in the position Devin Levi was in last year, he'd be doing just as well.
If not better, I feel like.
Yeah.
How? Because what are we looking at now? Because Devin Levi is 21. Dustin Wolf, on the
He's
other
20?
hand, is he 20?
I believe he's 20. He is very young for a goalie prospect. Both him and Levi are.
He's 22. He's
Oh, I'm
22.
way off. That's my bad.
So I don't know. Like
And
22.
most goalies,
I mean, it is still young.
most goalies don't usually get that chance until they're like 25, 26. And that's usually where the conversation is, because if you go back through like history, especially in the 2010s, for how long teams will wait to give goalies a chance, like I think when did Carey Price start starting? Like Carey Price got the role after Halak in like 2012. He was drafted in, I'm talking out of my ass, but you know what I mean. Like usually most goalies have to wait a fairly long time before getting that opportunity. And I think that's almost what the Flames were trying to do, but you run into the issue of he's ready. He's ready now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait
Carey
that long.
Price, I think Carey Price might have started when he was 20.
Is that right? Am I off on that one again?
He started in. He made his highly anticipated Canadiens debut October 2007. He was born in 1987.
When
I
did
think
he become the starter?
Halak.
Because I think
Well, I think he was the starter. He was the starter, and then I think he lost the job to Halak, and then he eventually got it back.
okay.
Yeah, and in 2010, both Price and Halak were restricted free agents, and a goaltending debate emerged in Montreal who would remain with the team. After weeks of media speculation, the Canadiens chose Price and traded Halak to the St. Louis Blues.
Well, there you go. Yeah, like it's.
But even then, like you look at it, Carey Price struggled, and Carey Price is one of the best goaltenders in the NBA. Like you just can't. Like I
Carey
feel
Price
like
wasn't the right example for that, but you know what I mean. Like it's
the Flames. Well, I don't think it's a bad example. I think the Flames are doing. The Flames' goal with holding Wolf out is to protect him, but by protecting him, they are doing literally the opposite of what they want, what they're intended to. Because by protecting him, by building up this much hype for him, you are just going to make it all the more disappointing if he flames out. And like if he flames out for the first few games, that's okay. But because you've held him out for so long and just dangled him in front of fans' noses, like, oh, here's a little Dustin Wolf. Here's a little Dustin Wolf. You want him? You want him? Like, oh, he's coming up from the AHL. No, he's not.
it's time.
By building
No,
all
it
this hype, by building up all this hype, you're just gonna like make it more frustrating if he doesn't work out. You are actively creating the situation you want to avoid, and like this is, I mean, the Dustin Wolf situation
you're kind
can
of
make
right,
Flames
actually.
fans mad. Like this situation, the reason this situation makes Flames fans mad is because it's a sign that for the last 10 years the Flames don't know what they're doing. They don't know jack shit.
Well, and we've also just
don't
not
know what they're
had
doing.
like we haven't had like a really good goalie that we've built ourselves since Kiprusoff. Because think about it, who we've brought in who has succeeded. Like the only goalie I
don't
can
think we've
actually
had a good
think of
goalie since
in the
Kipper.
last 20 years. Well, you could make like Hiller made the All-Star team, Smith made the All-Star team. Like you can make an argument that we've had decent goalies, but the main thing
decent.
You can make, but All-Star. You can make the argument, though, for both of those, that we did not build them. They came here when they were both like 33, 34, 35. Like, they both came later in their career. We have not had a goalie prospect pan out since Kiprusoff. The only one that even comes close is, as depressing as it is, David Riddick. He is the only name I can think of. Because there was a moment where he was very much the starter here. Like, that is the only goalie I can even think of as being, like... Because, think... 20 years, who can you even name that we've built other than Kiprusoff?
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly. Like, it's funny because Dustin Wolf, it's almost like he's got 20 years worth of hype on him. I'd almost describe it. Where we finally have that guy. We finally have that prospect who is going to be the guy for us. We just, the Flames just need to pull the trigger. That's what it feels like. I have definitely been the person to say, I remember when he first got called up this season, I was like, he ain't going back down now. He is going to play incredible, and then obviously that's not what ended up happening, but that should show you the level of hype that there is around him in this city. Because it's almost like, it's like he's not going back down for 20 years level of like, Like it seems like everybody's just waiting for the Dustin Wolf era to start. It's just, come on, when is it? When is it? When is it? It's that type of thing, right? Like I don't know. He's gonna be really nuts when he gets like the proper chance to show it, but Kadri sliding into him will not help his case.
Yeah, you just gotta give him time because stuff like that's gonna happen, and it's not gonna look good on the stat sheet. But things normalize.
That's true.
So you got to give him an extended
maybe
shot.
Giving him the chance to fail wouldn't be a bad thing.
You have to. You have to. It's goaltending.
Yeah.
It's the most like
the only thing you can even compare it to is
position.
maybe pitcher in baseball.
But even then, pitchers I feel like don't fluctuate as wildly as goaltenders do. It's not as much of an enigma. I guess you could say, I mean, there is some examples of that. So maybe it is pretty close of a comparison. I'm thinking of like Manoah for the Blue Jays, where he was fantastic and then got sent down.
Well, and it's the same thing with goalies, where like the best of the best don't fluctuate, just like pitchers.
Yeah.
Like think of like Carey Price for as long as he was in the league, he never fluctuated. Think of like, I don't know, or at least after like after he actually became a star. Yeah, like. There was never questions about him. I'm trying to think. There really hasn't been a top goalie like Carey Price since Carey Price. Like, there's been a lot of
Vasilevsky.
Yeah, but he's fluctuated.
Hellebuyck. I don't think Vasilevsky has fluctuated.
Hasn't he? Or no, I guess more injuries has been more what I would call.
Which you can't put on him.
Yeah, no, you can't put that on him. Okay, I take that back. But so like what? Vasilevsky, Price, go back further, Brodeur.
Hellebuyck.
Like Luongo, like there's like those.
You can make the case for Hellebuyck.
You think so? Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, that's true. He's been consistent as well. Like there has just been like that select group of goalies, and if you want to look at pitchers, you can go like, I don't know. This is testing my knowledge of 2010s baseball, but like you can throw out a bunch of names. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yeah. But it's the point being that it is an enigma position, and you're not going to, unless you have the next Martin Brodeur or Carey Price, you're not going to get consistent play. And even with Carey Price, when you're a younger player, there's going to be stretches where people say, should we keep Yaroslav Halak or should we keep you? One of the best goaltenders of the 2010s.
And it's crazy to think about that.
You have to give him room to fail. You have to give him room to fail.
It's crazy, because like Halak was a good goalie at the time. Like, that's not, because, like, a lot of people forget that Halak was in the NHL for 20 years for a reason. Because he was very good in Montreal, and he was good after Montreal as well. But he's not Carey Price, right? And that's the biggest reason why when you look back at that battle, it's like, why would you even think about it, right? Like, but, I mean, that's just goalies. Nobody knows, right? It's the same argument now with almost the same argument, Dustin Wolf-Vladar. Do you really want to risk the idea that Dustin Wolf comes up and sucks and blows it? And it feels like that's what this management team is afraid of.
And you can't manage scared. You can't manage
there you
scared.
go.
If you manage scared, your job is lost. So Craig Conroy,
that's why the Flames have been mediocre for 20 years. It's because they manage scared.
Yeah, Craig Conroy, if you want to stick as a GM and prove you're not just, again, I like Craig Conroy, but if you want to stick as a GM and prove that you're not just some old-timey boys club guy that they brought up because you played on the Flames in the past, get on your horse and make some moves. Don't manage scared. Prove that you are doing what needs to be done by making the right decisions for this team in the future. That's all we can ask. And that starts by making a definitive decision in the goaltending and stop, like, tiptoeing around this.
Because I understand the idea of wanting to give Dustin Wolf more time on ice by playing in the AHL and avoiding having to have that battle for time with Markstrom, but that's dumb. You've done that enough. Like, he's just going to... There's no point in giving him... Yeah, it's time. Like, you got to let him battle for it. Like, because, seriously, as somebody who watches quite a few Flames games, there are times when I seriously wonder how big of a gap there is between Markstrom and Wolf. And it... Like, and that's not necessarily me saying that I think Wolf can come up and immediately take that spot for him, but I think that you would be stupid if you didn't give him the chance to. And if he can't, play him in the backup spot, let's see what happens. Like, maybe in a year he will be ready. Like, I just think that you're making a huge mistake by just letting that sit on the burner.
Yep. Completely agree.
So, finally, baseball news. Juan Soto to the Yankees. God damn it. I hit my camera off, but it was necessary. The Yankees got better. Nobody likes it. Boo! Boo! The Yankees got a good player. And they definitely won this trade. So that's great. That's my analysis right off the jump. Looking at this entire thing. Like, it's... They can't keep getting away with this, you know? We can't. Like, let the Yankees suck for a bit, please. Stop giving them generational talent.
Well, this is why baseball is baseball. They're never gonna suck because they have the infinite money glitch. We've talked about this before in the podcast.
Their building is, after all, made out of Lamborghinis. It's just...
Yeah. Trick play reference.
Trick play reference. Holy crap. Make trick play references to your friends. See what... so that they look at you like you're an idiot. Anyway.
Oh man, I'm gonna go anger biking. Trick play reference. Oh
god, is this us jumping the shark? Did we just jump the shark? Did we just do it in this exact moment?
Than 30 episodes in. Yeah. Oh my god.
Did we just peak? Like...
We've become too meta for our own good.
Oh god. Anyway, baseball.
The
Yankees now have the single stupidest outfield in existence, featuring Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and frankly, whoever the hell they decide to put in that other spot. I don't know if Stanton plays outfield. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think he's the edge.
Okay, well, there you go. Stanton, Soto, Judge. There you go. Well, that's that.
Yeah, so...
Game over baseball. Not really, but you know what I mean. Like, it's...
You have to... I think there's a couple angles you can take from this. I think the most interesting angle that I kind of think as more of a baseball outsider than anything, but looking at this Padres team, this is a sign that they've given up, right?
Yeah, I mean,
because people thought they were going to be a super team, and then they kind of just completely they fizzled and they couldn't make anything work, and now they're trading their superstar, and yeah, I think it's fascinating. Because Soto, who did they get Soto from again? Why is it
Nationals? Yes,
because when they brought in Soto, the expectations were that they were going to compete for a World Series with him and Tatis. Yeah, Machado and Tatis Jr. I don't know.
And then Tatis Jr. went out with oopsie doopsie wrong needle, and ever since it's been pretty downhill for the Padres.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of sucks to see because that would have been exciting. It's not like that because it's again my biggest complaint with baseball.
Soto and Tatis Jr. actually play together? Does anybody know?
I don't actually know.
It was less than 10. Because that happened, like,
it's not
a week between... Like, there was a week gap.
Yeah. It's sad, frankly, to see, because you're looking at this and you're thinking they can make a run for it, and with all those name brands on it, they just fall on their faces. And it's a big loss for small market teams, because eventually all the talent just goes to the Yankees. And it's such a sad thing to see. It would have been nice to see some sort of parity in the MLB, but I guess not. Like, the Yankees missed the playoffs last year, and that was nice, but I guess we're not going to see that again, especially if they have this kind of talent on their team. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll fizzle out. Maybe it won't work, but there's still a huge – this trade, more than anything, just shows that there's a huge equalization problem in baseball in terms of what teams are good and what teams aren't. And it's shifting – this is shifting the power in the league back to the teams that have had the power for the last 50, 75, 100 years of baseball. That's why the sport is not exciting, and that's why people like me don't care and don't watch. So this move is frankly bad for baseball.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you either. Like, it's just, I hate it because it's the Yankees. Like, like, it's not hard to dissect why I'm sitting here going, like, It sucks because I mean, like right when the Blue Jays were gonna get we were gonna get the step up, right, or maybe get the step up with the conversations of us potentially getting Otani. The Yankees have to go. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not yet. Not yet. You're not pulling ahead that easy, right? Like it's, and I mean, if Otani does decide to go to the Blue Jays, this will definitely make for and who knows, maybe we'll see that in the next couple days, and that'll make this podcast a lot, more out of date.
He's supposed to be signing over the weekend. So wait, Simon, put in your official Otani predictions before we have the next podcast. Let's take our Otani break.
He's going.
We can't have a segment with.
He's totally going to the Dodgers. That's just, I'm in denial because I can't sit here and go like, he's coming to the Blue Jays. He's coming to the Blue Jays. He's coming to the Blue Jays. Because the second he goes to the Dodgers, it's just going to be depresso hour. Like, it's going to suck. But, like, come on. It's, like, you can't
He's probably going to the Blue Jays. Or he's not going to the Blue Jays. Yeah, he's probably going to the Dodgers.
Like, the one argument I've heard for it from the same person who's made the same argument to me 20 times is that Otani wants to go to the Blue Jays because he's conquered Japan, he's conquered America, now he wants to go to Canada. Right? That's the argument. I'm like, did he really? Like, why?
Does he care?
Does he care? Like, is that actually something that is important to him? Like, because at that point, what's next? Are you going to go dominate, like, the Mexican baseball leagues once we're done with the Blue Jays?
Yeah,
like,
nobody's going to care.
Like, I just don't get it. I don't understand that as, like, a take, really. Trust me. I mean, maybe more than anyone, I want Otani to come to the Blue Jays because that would be so awesome. But, like, what? Like, it's not going to happen. It sucks. Like,
I mean, you know where he's going. You know where he's going. It's not the Dodgers. He's gonna follow in the footsteps of the last, at least, huge Japanese baseball legend that I can think of.
Sure, buddy.
And come up to Seattle.
Sure, buddy.
Otani in the Pacific Northwest. Mariners are winning the World Series.
So that he can play with, like, Julio Rodriguez and the other guy.
All-star lineup.
Oh, God. It's okay. When he goes to the Yankees, we can all cry together.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, the Dodgers is like, and I've said this to other people before. I don't know if I'd even be mad if he went to the Dodgers, because then at least he's not with the Yankees, right? Because that was the conversation forever, and every time I heard it made me want to, like, just, it made, like, it just sucks. Imagine if Otani signed with the Yankees for 12 years. Holy crap, that would suck.
You know what the thing that this is going to do, right? The whole Soto going to the Yankees and then Otani probably going to the Dodgers. You know what that's going to do? It's going to create what I call the Warriors-Cavs effect, where we're just going to have the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series for the next, like, 5 years.
Oh, I believe
it. I know baseball doesn't work the same as basketball, but still, that's just not a nice, like, the Rangers Diamondbacks World Series was so nice because it's two smaller markets and non-traditional teams that we don't normally get, and they're actually competing, and the Rangers won, which is neat, and savor it while it lasts, because especially the Soto move, I think,
is a sign
of the changing of the guard.
They're not about to let that fly.
They're not going to let that slide. And if Otani goes to the Dodgers, it's going to be the same in the NL. So.
And you can make the argument that I don't know if I'd call Rangers change of the guard, considering they spent almost as much money as the Yankees did last year. But still, it's the same.
But it's still a non-traditional market that hasn't won.
Sure.
It's just not. Yes, they're still spending a lot of money, but it's just not the Yankees. Like, that's the difference. That's the difference.
Personally, I still hope that Otani goes to the Athletics and takes up, like, three halves of their
maybe
salary cap.
maybe Otani just really likes gambling. So the idea of going to Las Vegas is just, like, really enticing.
Yeah, he'll actually just get paid in, like, I don't know, chips.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can see him at the Bellagio every night. He wants that. He wants to earn that field full of Lamborghinis the honest way, which is in a casino.
That's respectable. I can respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Is it really hard-earned cash if you don't gamble for it? That's great advice, children. Take that home. If there's one message you learn from the Trick Play podcast, it's that gambling is so cool and that you should totally do it. We're late enough in the podcast I can say stuff like that.
I don't know if you can really do that. I was about to say, Simon flashed up a big red label that Caleb is dumb and nobody should listen to him ever.
I mean, I had such great betting advice on this show, so.
That's true.
Vegas Caleb. That's my self-proclaimed nickname.
Betting podcast. Should we just turn into? We should just do that.
We should start a betting podcast.
God, wouldn't that be lovely? Two people who don't do sports betting creating a betting podcast. That would be kind of sick, actually, because it would just be me and you missing on 1,000 things. It would legitimately
just have, like, a tracker
be
at the bottom for how many bets we've missed.
I've had that
like,
thought.
What's our total losses?
One of my favorite things in sports, whenever I see this, it makes me laugh a little. And the CFL does this really well, actually, where they'll post their like predictions, where it's like there'll be Pat Steinberg and the other 3 people I can't remember the names of with their predictions for the week on who's going to win what, and then they have the people's records underneath it.
Yeah,
I love that stuff. I think that's so awesome because it's so funny to me watching them just like, because it'll just be like, this guy gets it 1 out of 4 times, and I'm like, how?
I went 0 for 5 last week. This guy fucking sucks.
Yeah, like it's just like I so personally, just to like hurt both of our egos, I think it'd be really funny to just have like underneath our labels down here, just like Simon went 0 for 17 in hockey games last night. It's just like I think that entire thing is hilarious, but yeah, no, that's not gonna happen, sadly, because God knows I don't want to do the math. So
it was tough enough to count the swears that I had in the Seahawks segment last week. This was just a step too far.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. I actually just copied the sound effect and then just like went through and like every time just like paste, 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 paste. I actually had my dad walk up to me like the other day, like in the kitchen, like just like neither of us said anything to each other. We were both just like making sandwiches or some shit. He just goes like, "You guys gotta swear less." It's like this week it wasn't me. It wasn't me this week.
Yeah, no.
For once,
this is just what happens when you record a podcast after a Seahawks game. I can't control it. I'm sorry. It's just gonna happen.
I actually, you know what? Here's a challenge to anybody watching this. Actually, if you can, I can say after watching it back, and I was too lazy to fix this problem. I missed 2 swear words in the first 17 minutes. This is a challenge to whoever can find them. Because I off the top of my head, actually, from watching it back on the YouTube version, because I was curious if I missed any. I missed 2. One of them is really obvious, one of them isn't. But
okay.
Yeah, I only missed 2. And I was pretty proud of that, honestly. Because watching
good.
It, yeah, I did a pretty good job centering. One of them I shouldn't have missed. I will say that. It was pretty like, how did you miss that? Levels of clearly I should have got it. Like, but it was the other one. It was like
a clear.
It was a very clear one that I just completely whiffed on, apparently. But
I just dropped an F-bomb in the middle of it,
much.
And you didn't.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that's pretty much what it was. The second one was a lot lighter that I just completely must have just, I don't know, forgot to do it. So the actual total, I think, is 34 for the
that feels, for some reason that feels, because I thought 32 was low, so I'm okay
so
with
34. 34 feels better.
34 feels better. You got to get my. There was this as part of the thing I shouted at like 4 times in the show, that like history of the Minnesota Vikings documentary done by John Boyes. He has this part of that documentary where he's this old Vikings coach, and he has this like infamous press conference where he's just going off his rocker and swearing amount of times, and he's counting the fucks per minute and comparing it against other like famous press conferences and stuff.
That's awesome.
I gotta see how my fucks per minute stacks up to that guy. Because that was pretty impressive. I think I can.
So
can
34 divided by what, 17? Isn't that? Because that's as far as I tracked. After the 17th minute, I gave up.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent fuck.
34 divided by 17. It's 2 on the dot. 2 fucks per minute, Caleb?
2 fucks per minute. That's pretty good.
This segment is also stacking up, I think.
Well, this isn't even like in
This
rage.
is like
it's just we're just analyzing the.
We're just analyzing it. Yeah, 2. What was his? Like, what were the other? Like, where does that stack up?
I'm trying to see if I can find the.
Where does that stack up? I feel like that's.
Let's see.
The other ones, that's got to be pretty low. I would have guessed closer to like 2.5 for you, based on editing.
Yeah.
I probably would have guessed 2.5 if I hadn't just Googled it.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, I think it's from like the 90s. Well, maybe you can pull up the fucks per minute stat on this.
Oh god. Fun.
Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna find this. This is an hour and a half long video.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep in mind your trick play stat of the day is that Caleb averaged two fucks per minute during his Seahawks rant. Terrific.
If the Seahawks, if I come on this podcast after the Seahawks inevitably like lose to the Steelers and get mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, that fucks per minute is gonna be even higher. So watch for that.
Just gonna open it up with just like, just saying it over and over and over for
fucking Geno Smith, fucking yeah. Send them to Timbuktu.
The Shanghai Sharks need a new QB.
And even there, he can't even fucking start.
Oh god. Have we gotten over 34 in this segment yet? Probably not. Oh god.
We're getting there.
Whatever.
This was about baseball at one point. We're so good at baseball
Aren't
segments.
most things about baseball and then they don't become about baseball in this podcast?
Yeah.
We're frauds. We
so
try and
sorry,
cover all
MLB
4
fan.
sports. We're frauds.
This is an NHL and NFL podcast.
We talked about Soto for like a total of like 10 minutes and spent the next 7 swearing. Welcome to the podcast. Jesus Christ.
We don't hide our biases.
Yep. Any future employers, stop watching here.
They better have stopped watching by now.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Thank you, everybody, for watching the Trick Play podcast this week. If you are watching on the YouTube or whatever, make sure to find us on the Fresh Take Network. But apparently, a lot of you are already there, so thank you very much for finding us there. Again, like I said at the start, come say hi. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
We got all the stuff. Follow us there.
And the main reason that we're saying that, just to be clear, because I figured I kind of want to emphasize on it, is the fact that we don't get a lot of comments currently, and it makes it hard to figure out what we want to improve on. Because it'd be nice to I want to hear your input on the podcast, right? Like, especially as the person who does a lot of the editing. I think it would be awesome to know what you like, what you don't like, because I have been making a lot of changes in the last couple of weeks. So it'd be cool to know what I should keep, what I should change, all of those things. That's in your control. We are the podcast of the people. Like, all of these changes, you just need to tell me.
Also, I haven't gotten the chance to mouth off in the comments at anybody yet. So
that's true. I've been doing most of the responding, and that's probably for the best.
If you I need more people to watch my Seahawks rant. Like, I don't think any Cowboys fans watched my rant in the last one, and that's probably for the better for them. If you're a Cowboys fan, feel free. Like, I want to debate
Caleb
you in the comment section. Pointless internet debates are what fuels me. This is how I earn my living. I mean, I don't, but this is what makes me feel alive.
Joke's on you. You think we get paid?
Yeah, no fucking way.
God, I wish.
Anyway, say some stupid. Say some things that can help us improve, or say some. If you want to get to Simon, say some things that we can improve on.
We can improve.
If you want to get to me,
Say the
be
Seahawks
like
suck.
David Carr and be like, Jalen Hurts needs to be benched for Marcus Mariota, and I'll come fight your ass. So,
Caleb versus
okay,
Trick Play fan boxing match. Can't wait.
I will. Let's make this. If we get enough comments, we can make another segment where I just rip your comments to shreds on the podcast.
Yeah,
I
know
think
how
this would
most
be
people
a
have
fascinating segment.
most YouTubers have like a reading your comments thing. We'd have a Caleb. Simon sits there silently, like swirling his San Pellegrino, while Caleb rips every single comment to shreds. That'd be a great segment. Oh, I would love that.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait. Send in your comments, please. Please. I can't wait for this. Anyways.
That's gonna be sick. I can't wait for that either. Can't wait to break our record of 32. You know what I'm talking about. Hell yeah.
Let me get some more. Let me get my FPMs up. You know I gotta get my FPMs up. Anyway, we don't have a lot of time for the outro, so I'm gonna make my anti-shout out real quick. If you are a Vancouver public transit driver, slow down. Oh my god, you are hitting the bumps at 100 miles an hour. I swear to God.
Like when you're on like a
standing
school
up
bus.
on the bus.
Remember like when would have been like grade 3 and like you stand up in the middle of the row and the bus driver hits a bump and you go flying out the window and break 3 bones, but it's like hell yeah, you know.
Okay, but I'm not fucking 5 anymore. I can't take this shit anymore. I'm standing in the middle of that bus and the bus driver's turning and I feel like I'm gonna tear my fucking ACL. This guy has got to stop. It has come. I say this guy like all bus drivers are just the same guy, but like the bus ride I had back today, I got my big, I don't even know if I still have it. I don't know where it went, but I had my big thing of Blue Chip Cafe hot chocolate, and that shit is really good. And I was drinking it on the bus ride back, and I was sitting down, mind you, and this has a lid on it, but the bus driver was going literally like 80 kilometers an hour and slammed into a bump, and I go like this, and the hot chocolate spills all out of my cup and all over like myself and like a little bit on awesome. The poor stranger beside me.
That's
First of all, I'm so sorry to that person. The bus driver, fuck you. Go slower. That was one of the most embarrassing experiences I've had in the last month.
I'll join you. Anti shout out of the week from Simon. I think my first one. Anybody who works at like Timmy's, I've had this. I never had this issue for like 2 years straight. I had an incredible streak going, but in like the last month, I've had quite a few people do it. So it feels like this needs to be a more known thing. I wish I had like a Tim's cup to like demonstrate, but I don't think I do. Anyway, my coffee this morning had it, and it really pissed me off. As somebody who has to dress up for a lot of the stuff I have to do related to school and work, this pisses me off a lot. The people who work at these coffee places and don't know that you can't line the lid right next to like the line on the side of the cup, fuck you. Because that is such an unnoticeable thing until you take a sip from your cup and it all comes out. And if you're wearing I wasn't dressed up today, thank God, but like it's the type of thing where like God, it pisses me off. That's my anti-shout out. Anybody who does that, because I've been lucky enough, whenever this has happened to me, this is first world problems right here. But anytime this has happened to me, I'm not wearing like something nice. But there's been a lot of times this year where I have to wear a lot of nice stuff, and I on purpose have to look at my Tim's cup and go, "Where's the line?" Like I've done that a lot because I don't need no drippy cup. I'm good. I want to sip my coffee, not drip my coffee. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my anti-shout out.
This is the anti-shout out. The worst is just in general the worst feeling is spilling coffee on yourself. It's just it's just the worst.
So in the podcast, by knowing that me and Caleb do not have hard lives, and those are our first world issues we deal with on a daily basis. Actually, we have incredibly hard lives. Give us your money so that we can buy more coffees. There you go.
Yeah, it's a self-perpetuating prophecy. Give us your money, please.
Yep, give us your money. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Check us
See
out
ya.
everywhere. See you.